Sometimes when we're waiting for uncertain news, we know the news is going to be bad. It's just a matter of how bad it'll be.
Bad news, everyone!
It's gonna make you literally run from bad news.
Well, bad news tech.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Bad News Tech podcast. I'm here with one half of the greatest beards in tech. The other half, Isaac Rivera, is actually freezing his balls off right now in Canada. We're going to keep that, by the way. I have the not so disembodied voice of Mr. Louis Ailman. Aleman, actually.
Hello, everybody.
He sounds much better, too, and isn't sick. Even though...
Yeah, I have recovered.
That's, you know what?
Thanks for asking.
That's what I...
You done with that Zika virus, bro?
The Zika virus! Oh, God.
A couple of tranquilizer pills brought me back to life.
Oh, no. All right. So I'm glad everyone's feeling good, because I'm not. This week has been very, very frustrating for many music fans. As some of you guys know, the great genius that is Kanye West went on many a Twitter rant this week, proclaiming that he will not be selling his album anymore to the general public. First it was, we're gonna give a week exclusivity to Tidal, which he is a part owner of. Now it is, hey guys, pay $20 a month to stream my new album, which people who hear it say it's amazing. To Tidal, because I'm not going to sell it anywhere else. And then when people actually do pay the money, what does Tidal do? Not provide them with the product. They aren't prepared to handle the amount of traffic that they got from the biggest name in hip-hop, or one of the biggest names in hip-hop right now, because if I say the biggest name in hip-hop, then Drake heads will be
Don't
like,
give
nah,
them
that's
too
Drake.
much room. Don't give them any. You'll take that and stretch it a little bit more than what it is.
So... my dilemma is we've been dealing with the issue of exclusivity with video games for the better part of the last decade. Starting in last generation with Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and it looks like exclusivity is now entrenching in the music streaming world. And frankly, I don't like it. I don't think it's good for consumers. I don't really think it's good for any companies involved. What do you guys feel?
I mean, I don't like exclusivity because it fragments a lot of the community. So basically, you have, and I understand why businesses do it, because it draws in more revenue and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Because if something's exclusive to an Xbox and it's a really hyped up game or a AAA title, it's going to drive up Xbox sales. Yeah. So, and I don't like it because if you want to play a game that you really, really love and you're forced to get something that you kind of don't really enjoy, then, you either don't buy it and lose out on playing that game you've always been waiting to play, or you have to spend an extra $300 to $400 on something that you may not even use as much as you think you're going to use if it's not your home console.
Gotcha.
Or home device that you use.
Yeah.
So, another aspect of it is you're intentionally shutting out your customers, or your potential customers at least. So you're intentionally singling them out and rewarding your loyal customers. Like I don't think that's a good idea.
What do you think, Louis? You're the business mind of Bad News Tech. How do you feel about exclusivity in terms of a business practice when it comes to gaming or in music in general?
Exclusivity helps the developer or the developer and the manufacturer tremendously. But what it does to us, it makes us try to make a pivot into something that we already pay for. Because let's say, for instance, we already have our own consoles, and one game comes out and it's such a big influential game and just says, we're not going to be on Xbox, or we're going to be on PlayStation, or we're not going to be on XYZ. We're going to be on Nexus TV. And that kind of makes a shift for everybody. But what I could say is it was a bad move as far as Kanye's situation for how Tidal could even handle the they should have had at least some form of expectations of the heavy traffic flow. But the way they structured this exclusivity and the way they went about it, I think it was just a really poor business move. Plus, it also ruins his chances of getting any types of sales. And from what I heard, Tidal is not really well encrypted, so they pirated most of his music anyways. So so it's like he shot himself in the foot with this move.
I mean,
Tidal's not that good of a service compared to the other alternatives, like Spotify and other music streaming services.
well, let's be honest. I mean, Tidal is still in its infancy. When Jay-Z decided to bring it back from its doldrums last year, it's changed kind of the way it's done business. The technology is still the same. It still does give the highest resolution audio that you can get out of any other streaming audio service. But to your point of Kanye shooting himself in the foot, he did show that when he talks, people listen because Tidal was the #1 music app being downloaded on iTunes an hour after he said, "Everyone, please download Tidal." Tidal went from being in the bottom of the group in terms of total apps for highest grossing apps. They got to the top 40 within hours. So it did help Tidal in a way, but as a company, Tidal wasn't ready for that. And when you're dealing and when you're promoting a company that's not ready for the prime time, that's what happens. I mean, what upsets me is I'm a paying customer, right? I pay $15 a month for Google Play Music along with YouTube Red. So me, my girlfriend, and whomever else I want to add to my family plan can enjoy listening to music, new releases, as well as the Pandora-like radios or Spotify-like radios it creates, the music discovery purposes, as well as using YouTube Red for its ad-free video content. Now, the fact that Kanye West had the unmitigated gall to tell me that now I have to pay $20 a month to another company to stream not even download his album, to stream his album, is insulting to someone who's trying to legally obtain his music. The guy's a genius, but he's a genius in his craft. He's not a very good marketer because once you upset the internet's gonna fight back. So, I mean, I think we're entering an age where Apple Music, when Drake releases Views from the Six, the hottest artist right now, arguably transcending hip hop, is Drake. That comes out as going to be an Apple Music exclusive. Are you guys downloading Apple Music and subscribing to Apple Music for Drake?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, is that something you guys are gonna do? Are you guys gonna stop paying for your Google Play Music or your Spotify or whatever the case may be to go listen to it, or pay for both?
Yeah.
Like at that point, you know what I mean? I'm going from $15 an hour for Google Play. Okay, that's fine, but I want to listen to Kanye. Oh, I want to listen to Rihanna's album, and I want to listen to it when it comes out, because Rihanna's album was out a week before anybody else. A week before it went anywhere else and went platinum on Tidal. So
Let me ask you this though: what about his latest stunts of what he's doing with himself? First, he was talking about as soon as he released the album, he talks about he's $53 million in debt.
Yeah.
Then he extends himself to seek help from top tech billionaires instead of just reaching out to probably Jay-Z to help him bail him out.
Yeah.
Then he goes on SNL and backstage they recorded his rant.
Yeah, throws a fit, yeah.
Well,
And his rant was a little bit too, there's a problem. There's a point where you're starting to see that this guy is like literally destructing himself little by little. Although his Yeezys did sell out.
like I said, I mean,
everywhere.
the guy's
get
a
him.
genius in his craft. He's a fashion icon. The numbers show it. But I think when it comes to this particular just topic of exclusivity in the music industry, I think it's hurting everybody, and maybe it's something that we got to get used to, because I mean television has had exclusivity for years, and we've gotten used to, like last week we spoke about cutting the cord and all the different streaming options. But I mean, could you imagine where you didn't have to pay for Netflix to watch House of Cards, or HBO to watch Game of Thrones, or pay for Hulu so you can watch Walking Dead, and you can just watch it all in one happy bucket, one place, which is essentially what cable TV is.
Did you know that today the FCC created a new law which is called like open box, which allows Apple TV, the Netflix, and Android TV to provide their own subscription services similar to cable companies. So it's no longer cable conglomerates are collateralizing the whole entire market at this point.
Well, this is a typical a typical thing that has branched off in gaming too. The whole, you buy a game for $50 or $60, and that's all you get is the game. That's it. You get everything you could possibly want in the game there. Back in the day, the Nintendo 64 days, the PlayStation, the PlayStation 2s, there was no buy the game for full price still or more, and then you can get the 20 extra guns we decided to be creative about, or the extra characters, or the season pass this, or the season pass that. It's that kind of a mindset that has spread to everything else we deal with in life, like we work with and we love watching and playing. And it's stupid because, I mean, you can't blame the companies if the customers are buying it though. So if I mean, and I could probably say maybe bought, if it wasn't bundled together with a game, like on a deal on Steam, maybe 3 season passes. That's it. Actually, no, maybe 5. Okay. 3 of those being probably Battlefield games. But the whole you pay and you don't get everything you want is just stupid. And then now people are doing the same thing. So you have to, not only do you have to pay for Spotify if you don't want to have to deal with managing your library on a hard drive, now you have people that are essentially doing something similar where you have to pay for Tidal just to get Kanye's album. Now, I don't like Kanye that much because he was good back in the day, but not now. So it's not that big of a deal to me. But that kind of a thinking just...
It's dangerous. It's dangerous for the marketplace. And honestly, the precedent that's been set is we're going to have a timed exclusivity. It started with the Dr. Dre album when Straight Outta Compton came out, where it was a week before on Apple Music. Everybody on my timeline was loving it. Oh my God, it's such a great album. This is what the pharmacy should have been. Blah 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 blah. I couldn't listen to it because I was a Google Play member. I had to listen to it a week afterwards. Now, that trend, I mean, is something that we know personally started in the gaming realm. The most notable being Call of Duty's timed exclusives, where you got DLC, new maps on Xbox 360 first, then 90 days later they went to the PlayStation 3. This year, or this generation, it flipped. 30 days, PS4 gets it first. Now Xbox One has to wait. Now,
same thing with Tomb Raider.
Yep, same thing with Tomb Raider. Well, Tomb Raider was a year. Is a year exclusivity for Xbox One because they helped publish it. So that's a little bit of a different deal. It's not really something to where a console just kind of paid for a month exclusivity. That's them saying we're gonna pay for your publishing, we're gonna pay for the advertisements, we're gonna pay for that as if it's a game of our own, which is why they got the year exclusivity. It's still, it's still BS. Let's be frank. There's a lot of Tomb Raider fans that played Tomb Raider on the PlayStation originally and felt that they were getting the short end of the stick on that one. Now the latest one though is a game that I know the two of you have been really been hyped about. Both of you guys played the beta. Open beta is available now. But today it looks like Tom Clancy's The Division have announced that timed exclusivity for their DLC will come to the Xbox One first. 30 days later, it will show up on PC and PS4. How do you guys feel about that one?
That's bullshit.
It is. I mean, it's stupid. It's like, it's dumb. Like, why do you have to punish people who don't like your console? Like, that, I don't know. It's just...
See, this is where it's like, people don't want a government to step in to do something, like, but this is getting out of control. Like, if you're offering services to, like this happened with the telecommunication services, where they're exposing net neutrality and they're like giving fast lanes. Someone had to stop in and do something. I was glad that the best game probably in our generation, Grand Theft Auto 5, gave you online gaming for free. You didn't have to pay for nothing. You just bought the game, and what you got with the game was a pure masterpiece. A huge map, and then when you played online, it was just like, you know, you're playing the actual game. You couldn't beat it. I think there needs to be a change, and there needs to be something to step in and just like put their foot down for this, because this is not like, it's not fair at all to individuals who purchase consoles and then they got to buy another one just to, you know, shift over. Or, you know, they're playing, hey, we're going to have exclusivity and we're going to hold off for 30 days. I mean, it's just, it's just reckless at this point.
And you know what? I don't want to be mad at Microsoft. The people that we should be mad at are the developers, because they let that happen. Because they let their game be treated in that manner. So it's stupid. I mean, I understand. I mean, Microsoft probably had the money to go ahead and buy them out versus PlayStation or Sony, but
that's not necessarily true. But I get it.
I mean, why else? Why else would they?
I mean, in this generation,
would they give it to Xbox when Xbox notoriously has sold a lot less consoles since its release than PlayStation?
This is a rare win for Microsoft, honestly, because in this generation, the PlayStation has won when it comes to exclusives like that. Street Fighter V that just released this week, hot exclusive. Everybody, you know, there's a nice contingent of fighting game fans that are purchasing PlayStation 4s to play Street Fighter V. Call of Duty was a huge get for the PlayStation fans.
Yeah.
Call of Duty will never be unpopular. Unless they go the way of Battlefield and release a horribly made game that just doesn't work online. But it just doesn't. It won't happen because Activision, you know, keeps that ship. You know.
I mean, with here's the thing with the Street Fighter exclusivity, right?
Yeah. Which isn't.
It's
isn't
not
a real
fully exclusive.
Yeah.
Because PC got it the same day as PS4 did.
Yeah, but PC
whereas Call of Duty, they're not saying PS4 and Xbox get the maps 2 weeks early and then PC gets it, you know, a month later or something like that. It's Xbox is the only one that's getting the stuff beforehand, and then everyone else is gonna catch up.
Well,
so
I mean, couldn't you tell though that it was gonna happen, especially with the day early beta? So the beta started today for Sony, but it started yesterday for Microsoft. It was the same thing on the closed beta, and I was on here criticizing Microsoft for a day early beta. Like, what does it matter? But that was just the beginning of what culminated into getting, you know, downloadable content. And in a game that's going to rely on downloadable content to continue to be playable, you know what I mean? That replay value that can make or break a game. I mean, look at Destiny. And Destiny's another one that Sony won. I mean, Sony won that one. They got content a year before before Xbox fans will even see it. Exclusive maps, exclusive armor, exclusive weapons. I mean, so Sony's winning. Sony's won. This is the one that they lost.
Yeah.
And it's arguably one of the biggest games of 2016, if not the biggest game of 2016, when it does release in March 8th.
I bought the system for that game.
Okay, so you bought a PS4 for that game exclusively, and now to hear that they lost exclusivity or DSC exclusivity to Microsoft, I mean you've got to feel disappointed. Now
this is Sony common move. I mean, like they always just the way I see it and the way I could see how it played out is Microsoft said, "Hey, listen, could we buy an exclusive license for 30 days? Give me a dollar figure." They probably went over to Sony, and Sony so up there, they're like, don't worry about it. Everybody will wait. We're not going to give you any money. And Sony is capable of doing that because, one, they don't even market all their products, which they do have good flagship products, and nobody ever knows about it. But the only thing that people do know are the PlayStation consoles, and, they're doing so well and high in numbers, they don't really feel like they have to do anything to compete with Microsoft at this point. They feel like they already won the battle forever.
That's
and
because
Microsoft
it's true.
was trying to creep up. Oh no, they did.
It's definitely true. They've won. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The only way Microsoft can even get close is if it turns out to be a PlayStation 3 like comeback at the end of the cycle when everyone's already had a PS4 and everyone's buying Xbox Ones now to experience the new Microsoft dashboard or whatever the case may be. But they've lost the race. They've lost the race. They've lost countless other just money grab when it comes to money grab moves. I think when you think about it in Sony's perspective, they don't really need the exclusivity for DLC for The Division because they've got a game that's very similar to it in terms of it's a massively online multiplayer game that you shoot stuff with, that's set in an alternate world, that is also something that people crave more content. And they've been really, really pushing Destiny in terms of that's their core game. Where if an outsider looking in looks at Destiny, they're gonna think it's a PlayStation exclusive. They've got a PlayStation console for it. All their commercials says games are better on PlayStation. During the holiday they made a big push on it. They invested in Destiny, so I don't think they wanted to invest again in the Division. So,
but Division is going to be a bigger game though. Like,
oh yeah,
and I don't mean hype wise. I mean, Division is map wise, and I would think content wise a bigger game because, within I'd probably say in a 6-hour period, you could pretty much complete the game in Destiny without raiding. So, and you don't even have to put that much time in to get some of the end game gear.
Yeah.
So, whereas the Division, the very little time that they gave us to play the game, you level up not fast, but not as not slow, but not as fast as Destiny.
Okay.
And just exploring the map in and of itself feels a lot larger than any of Destiny's planets that they have that you can access without a loading screen. So I mean, is this? Are we seeing signs that this is Microsoft's Destiny? Like, is this the game that people are going to say, outsiders looking in, people that don't really know too much about games and maybe just want to purchase one because they heard about this cool game called The Division? Or are they going to say, okay, all of the branding, all of the advertising is Microsoft Xbox One, so that's where I'm going to buy it? Is this that game for them? I think it's too late for it to make a difference. Like, it'll do something and it'll help them. But I don't think it will have the effect that Call of Duty had on the Xbox 360 versus the PS3 race that happened. Because it was like, I had a PS3 and I was the only one that had one. Like, all my friends had Xbox 360s and I freaking hated that console. But, I mean, the Xbox One is a good console in and of itself. Its UI is amazing. It's way better than PlayStation. But they waited, those consoles came out in 2013, I think.
Yeah.
It's already 2 or 3 years already. So I mean, how much longer were you willing to wait to try to pick up a game that was going to be that big? Like
well, I mean, they lost. Like I said, they've been losing basically since the beginning of the newest consoles dropping. From that E3 conference up until now, it's been a loss.
Yeah.
And they haven't really won. They haven't hit big on the games that they invested in. You know, for example, Tomb Raider got demolished because it came out on the same day as Fallout. So that was their game that they wanted to have out before Uncharted. And it got cannibalized by another third-party game. And I think that they need the Division to be that game like Destiny, where again you look at it from the outside looking in, and you say, man, I have to identify this game with Xbox.
I mean, then again, I'm already used to, and that's an unfortunate term to use in today's day and age, with, you know, the fact that I break my back making my money to buy my stuff. Yeah. You know, but I was already used to that from the Call of Duty days. Yeah. I refused to play Call of Duty, even way back when Call of Duty was actually an enjoyable game. Yeah. You know, on Steam, on the PC. Yeah. Because I didn't have the skill to play a game like that on a controller. Yeah. Like, I think the skill is higher doing it on a computer. So, you know, I was already used to all my Xbox friends getting all the maps like 2 weeks before me. Yeah. And then, you know, getting the maps whenever they decided to release them on the computer. Yeah. So, I mean, it sucks, but it's what I have a problem with is, you know, when there's games that kind of try to force you in a certain direction. Okay. And that you don't want to go in, and that's what everybody's doing now. They see, I mean, because before all of this happened, with all the DLC exclusivity 2 weeks before, gaming was in a funk. Gaming was not doing that well. I remember reading reports back when I was younger that gaming was dying. Yeah. You know, and PC was going that route a lot quicker than everyone else. Yeah, well, of course. And then you know, I forgot what game it was, but whoever decided to go ahead and do DLC, and people started buying it because, you know, people are more obsessed. Even if the season pass only contains cosmetic stuff for the game, nothing that drives the story longer or adds maps or anything like that, people soak it up and they buy it. And it's just to look nice, and then when the next game goes around, they shelf that game, and all that money they spent is garbage. Like, it's gone. Yeah. So, I mean, granted, DLC was around before DLC was invented. It was just called expansions. Yeah. And that was something that was only really ever done by the MMO community. Yeah. MMOs were the only thing that you could really ever get an expansion for, or if they were an offline RPG game like Elder Scrolls or something like that.
But when you're in a sector that's dying, people are gonna take ideas from the games that are performing the best, and MMOs were the ones that were actually still generating cash in a dying genre. Yeah. And downloadable content, the advent of downloadable content, you know, brought back the genre from the ashes. And unfortunately, publishers got wise to the fact that, you know, we can make it exclusive on your console if you pay us more money. Yeah. And Microsoft bid on it. It helped them big time. They hit big on quite a few exclusive DLC deals in the Xbox 360 you know, time. PlayStation's doing it now with PS4. I mean, does that... But to you as informed gamers, how does it make you guys feel that you're going to have to wait 30 more days or an entire month to get another expansion, to get more levels, to get more weapons, to you know, to have some other part of the map unlocked, whatever the case may be? Does that really affect your purchasing decision for you? I mean, you have one console, so I'm gonna assume that you're not gonna run out and grab an Xbox One right now because you need to have that. You know, I need to have the DLC when it comes out because if I don't, I'm gonna be pissed. I can't live like this. This is not the way that I wanted to spend my time investing in this game. But for you, I mean, you got all three consoles. What do you think? Are you gonna buy one over the other? I mean, I know you're a PC guy, so I know you're gonna buy it on the PC.
I mean, I'm still gonna buy it on the PC anyway because
Okay.
the game is a good game. And the thing about gaming on the PC is that I don't have to worry about bringing out the last 15 years of consoles if I wanted to play a game that I never really got to touch.
Yeah.
So on my computer, I have, because of Steam sales, a million games I haven't even played that I bought and never even touched.
Yeah.
And if I really happen to get tired of the Division while waiting those 30 or whatever days that Xbox has all the DLC beforehand, I can just play another game.
Okay.
You know, or continue with games like that though. It's a little bit easier to swallow that kind of information because those games are very heavily grinding driven, meaning you keep playing and repeating the same stuff in some cases and doing the same quests and doing it so that you can get your character to be stronger. Yeah. So with those type of games, they're very time consuming. So I don't think that would be that big of a deal. But for games like the Arkham Knight or games that aren't really online where you have to compete to be the best is where it
could kill a game.
It can kill a game because if I'm done with an offline RPG, like Fallout or whatever, and let's say Microsoft got it first, and if I was into Fallout for enough for it to matter, I would be upset that I wouldn't be able to see the new content yet. Yeah. And if that's because there's some people that play games like that, Fallout 4, and they play Skyrim, and that's all they do. They eat, sleep, breathe that entire game, and that's all they ever do.
So for you, Lewis, because you're a one console guy, I know Destiny was a game for me where I played it, maxed out at 25, said I don't want to do this anymore, stopped. Then had to come back I give it an entire year until the latest expansion came out, and then played through it again. I
think you played more that time around than than I think you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
First time.
Absolutely. I mean, I bought it on a different console too. I had it on the Xbox One, and I was that kid that bought an Xbox One while all my friends bought a PlayStation 4. So it was I basically had to solo Destiny, which probably is the reason why I stopped playing it. But nevertheless, it's the same. It's the same situation. If you don't get that content in those 30 days, I mean, games are coming out, with a rapid pace. As soon as this month's over, that's it, man. It's balls to the wall. It's there's games coming out every 2-3 weeks, and if for some reason the Division becomes stale and you got to wait those 30 days and something else captures your attention, that's it.
Yeah, I mean that only works in some aspects though, because there's certain games that you can completely lose all hope in that game, and then an expansion comes out and it's like they stuck the needle in the vein again. And a good example of that is World of Warcraft. Yep. I have played that game since its launch in 2004. Okay. And I have repeatedly quit the game because I got tired of it. Expansion came out, and I would just go OD on it and play it 24/7. I wouldn't eat dinner. I like crazy. And then a few 6 months down the road, I get bored. I drop the game, and I go back to my normal life. That's it. So it's with a game like that though. If people get addicted enough, which I believe that's possible because it has a lot of MMO-esque stuff in it. Those are the things that really capture people. So, I mean, I think even though if people drop off eventually, they'll go back. Like I think the same could be said about Destiny.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't play Destiny that much the first time, and then the expansion came out, and me and you played it together.
Yeah,
like
Taken
lot.
King, we killed. I mean, we played what, 30, 40 hours in a week.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, it was a part. It wasn't even a part time. I was having 2 full-time jobs. We would leave work and then go play another 40 hours. It was crazy.
So yeah, but I mean, I think it's a problem with games that come out on a yearly schedule.
Okay.
For example, Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed are one of the top games that you could play, right? One for the multiplayer, one for the story, that come out every year, no more, no less, and always have some sort of a high price season pass, whether it be limited on one console or not. Either way, you pay for it, and then the next year, it's like that money just went out the window. You spent $110 on that game, or more if they decide to have multiple season passes for multiple content. And it's like when I understand money's good for your business, but when do you care about the customers? When does that happen? Because I used to spend $110 for Battlefield and its season pass. That's ridiculous.
Did you have fun doing it though?
I did until I got tired of it. You know, I stopped buying season passes because at that point, after like the first expansion came out, I stopped playing, and then the other 4 that came out after it, I just never touched it.
As a business, their only goal is to keep you entertained enough for you to spend those $110, and then after you whatever you do after that,
it doesn't matter. They have the money.
That's it. I mean, and they gave you enough enjoyment for you to want to say, you know what, you spend another $40, $50 on this DLC because my friends and I get on 2 or 3 nights a week and curse and yell and laugh while playing, Battlefield. And then once you guys get tired of that and move on to the next one, EA is like, thanks guys, I appreciate it. We'll see you next year.
That's why I like developers like Blizzard or the Rockstar, because Rockstar, they sell you a game, like Lewis said, and that's your game. I'm pretty sure eventually down the road they'll have DLC, but how long has that game been out? Since towards the end of the PS3 and Xbox 360 days, and still there's no DLC that you have to pay for.
Yeah, but they re-released the game.
They re-released the game, but I doubt there's as many people that would do what I did, which is buy it for pretty much every console except for the PS4. So,
you bought it for every console?
Yeah, pretty much. So, and I bought the collectors for the PS3 when it came out. So, but there's, like, for example, Blizzard, they have a game that's going to be coming out in 2016. It's probably not as popular as some of the games you're saying, only because you guys aren't really computer gamers. So Blizzard's doesn't have a real big role in the console area except for Diablo. So, but Overwatch, that game on its own, without any special stuff, no digital deluxe, none of that, collectors, $40 for the full game. And that's because they don't really have a story. It's just a competitive online shooter like Team Fortress.
Yeah.
And, but with that though, they're not including any, like, you have to buy the other 6 characters that they're going to think of. The characters you buy in the game the first day are going to be the characters until they decide to release like an Overwatch 2 or some sort of expansion. Because Blizzard believes in that if you pay for something, they're going to give you those updates and those changes for free. Now, granted, they do use marketplaces and stuff like to sell cosmetic stuff, but I mean, I don't fall into that kind of trap. But I believe that more developers should go ahead and go that route, because it's not only can you make money that way, but you make loyal customers that are not willing to hop off the bandwagon because some other place is giving you something 2 weeks early.
Well, also look at the sales of GTA in general. The way they have that format. I mean, the game has sold. I think it's still the #1 selling game of all time right now.
Yeah, it's the most I think grossing.
Christian just told us he bought the game 3-4 times over. Like,
I was part of that billion at least 3 or 4 times.
And this, I mean, and he's the
been
guy
too
that says
big,
if he doesn't get, how much is it? Is it if you don't get like,
if I don't get 50 cents on the hour, then the game's not worth it.
that's 50 cents per hour played in the game. The game's not worth it. And he bought the game 3 times over. Do you know how much time he had to spend on that?
Did you beat the game each time?
Yeah.
And do you have a yacht in the game?
Yeah.
On your. That's a baller right there.
So I mean, it's games like that. Like, you know, it's granted. Like for example, Diablo, another Blizzard game, right? It's a very simple game, very very simple. You know, it's very easy for someone that isn't into gaming to get into it. I've only spent a total of $80 on the game, and that's because the first game was $40, and then I waited about 1.5 to 2 years for the next expansion to come out. But in between then, they've added different content, new maps, new armor, new weapons, and I didn't have to pay for some sort of a season pass. So, I mean, an expansion is an expansion. If you want the game to continue, you have to make expansions regardless. Yeah. But you know, the way the people that are making DLCs are doing it is like they're nickel and diming you, and it's stupid. Like, you know, it's like developers that make Call of Duty are like those guys that you walk up into the street trying to sell you what you think is a Rolex tucked into their, you know, into their jackets, and they're just trying to make a quick buck, and they're not really thinking about giving the consumers the content that they strive for from you as a developer.
Okay.
And they come out every year. It's like a new game every year, a new DLC.
So I mean, let's say that there's a solution in place. Lewis mentioned earlier some sort of oversight committee of a governmental oversight committee. It doesn't have to be. But let's say in this hypothetical utopian world that I'm coming up with, there is an oversight committee, and that oversight committee said, you know what, Sony, Nintendo, Xbox, Microsoft. That's it. I don't want. We want one console. Figure out the minimum required specifications, and the only thing you're gonna do is create software. Mm-hmm. That's all we're gonna do for home console gamers. Everybody else can create hardware, much like the PC land, and we just want you to make quality content for people without having to do download, without having to add on downloadable content, season passes, or whatever the case may be. Who do you think would benefit there? Is there a company there that would come out on top? Is that a world you want to live in? I mean, do you like this multiple console world? Would you rather have something to where it's minimum specifications and you can purchase a box from an Acer, Asus, Toshiba, somebody who can make it much cheaper than, let's say, you know, Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo are currently, and you know. Or would you just rather it just everything go the way of PC, and you know, hopefully the Steam box wins, which it hasn't been impressing many people.
It's because people don't understand computers.
Okay.
If that had been an idea before PlayStation and Xbox had their claws inside gamers as much as they do now, it probably would do well.
Okay.
I mean, because like if you like to buy a certain type of car because you think it's reliable, are you going to buy another brand if it's been good to you?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. So
shout out to Ford, by the way.
You know, so basically that's what consumers want, and they just want to stick to something that they're used to, something that they think is reliable, and they think is the best. Okay. So like me, I have all the consoles, but I don't play all of them. I play primarily my PC.
Okay.
But in these are my requests for the perfect world.
Okay.
Okay. You can have 25 different consoles. I really don't care. There's a couple of things that I want. Crossplay between all the consoles.
Okay.
So that Xbox and PlayStation and PC aren't that big of a deal anymore.
Okay. Which is why the one console world works, because essentially then you'd just be buying a generic box with the minimum specifications, Call it a day.
You don't have to worry about your best friend having a different console, and now you're like, well, now I got to convince him to go ahead and get my console, and he's got to think the same thing for you. Yeah. So no, that if we had that, that would alleviate some of the problems. Okay. But also, if you're DLC is good. DLC is good because why would you not want to have more content of your favorite game?
Okay.
There is no way that you would not want to have that unless it was unreasonably priced.
Is there a difference between downloadable content, which is DLC, and an expansion, which you have mentioned before?
The models are the same for both, whereas you pay money to get extra content. DLC, though, is an extremely shortened version of what an expansion is at the expansion price or more.
Okay.
Because
so you're not getting the same amount.
No, because when I buy an expansion for World of Warcraft, I can tell you, I could probably get 100 to 200 hours out of that one expansion over the course of the next couple of months.
Gotcha.
Whereas DLC, for like let's say Arkham Knight, what did you get? You got Batgirl and a couple of extra missions and her story, which didn't equate to anywhere near that amount of hours. Yeah. Maybe you'd get that expansion done in maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. For $40, $50 for the season pass? Come on. That's a little bit ridiculous. But the thing is that if sell your DLC if you want to sell it, but make it worth selling.
Yeah.
You know? Charge us $30 for a season pass, or $15 if you want to break it out into different, different things. But give us the hours that we want to put in. Don't just go ahead and put in one extra mission. Like what? That's being lazy.
Exactly. Lewis, one console world. Christian says no DLC, but add expansions. What do you think? Also, let me know what your thoughts are on potential winners if the big three decide to say, you know what, all right, we're not hardware console makers anymore, we're software makers and we publish games. I want to know who you think would come out on top and who would lose.
Okay. Preferably, I do like competition, so I wouldn't really want to have a one console. I would honestly like, competition between everybody, but holding off exclusivity. There's nothing wrong with having 1 day in advance or a week in advance, but try to go ahead and purchase a license for 30 days. It's a little bit too excessive, and it seems to get out of control. For instance, you mentioned Destiny. Destiny took a year. And for them to be separated for a year on PlayStation to Xbox, that's a little bit too much. I think that's a little bit too excessive, and it should stop.
Okay.
As far as if who will win if they all decided to get away from the hardware game and go software, I think Microsoft would definitely take over because since Steve Ballmer left, which the Xbox One was Steve Ballmer. Am I correct on that?
No, the Xbox One was not Steve Ballmer. Oh, well, it was Ballmer's last one actually. Yeah, Ballmer was there during that last one, and then the new CEO came.
Yeah, so the new CEO has come and taken Microsoft and just made it a better company today. I feel that had he had the chance to work on Microsoft on the Xbox, he would have definitely made a lot of changes. But software-wise, I think Microsoft would definitely take it, considering the infrastructure that they have established, if they have like video games hosted on their servers with Azure, and the reliability that they have compared to PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. It's bar none. I mean, or we're kidding. I mean, there's times when hackers decide to hack Sony just for the hell of it, not just get credit card numbers, but they just feel like doing it just because it's Tuesday.
I mean, I don't. So, in terms of, in my opinion, I think if you make Nintendo, right, and this is a perfect one console world, and you have Nintendo as a software company, I think that they're gonna make the most compelling, the the most complete games. They're gonna have probably the best stories. They're probably gonna be the most family friendly and the most approachable video games that you can get. Sony and Microsoft are gonna be geared more towards the heavier gamers, as well as the adult generation. But if I had to pick one out of the exclusives that Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo currently have, I'm gonna go Sony. But I don't think that either of the big three as a publisher will beat Ubisoft, EA, or Activision in their own game. I don't think that they can. I don't think that they will. And in this perfect world, unfortunately, I think that the big three continues to be, the big three publishers continue to be reign on top.
All I want is just crossplay. That's it. Just do what Street Fighter did, so you can play with your friends across multiple consoles or gaming devices. That I would be willing to deal with the fact that DLC is what it is now.
Street Fighter doesn't work though.
Well, it does now. Launch day.
It doesn't work. I mean,
launch day, it didn't though, but it does now. But I mean, it's not just Street Fighter though. Street Fighter, every game has that. Call of Duty has it too at times. Battlefield definitely has that problem. Pretty much any game, which is a lot of games now, that have any sort of persistent online mode, even if you're not actually going ahead and trying to play the game online, or if it's not even an online game at all, they have persistent online because they need to check to see if your game is pirated.
Yeah.
So a lot of games have that problem nowadays. So, but that a lot of people, I mean, it's a cash cow. That's it. Just at the end of the day, it's a cash cow, and everybody's trying to jump on that bandwagon because they see how well it's been doing. But is Isaac on the call yet?
Yeah, I'm calling. He's jumping in. I just had to connect the Uber conference.
All right, but just so anybody who's listening or watching right now, Isaac is actually coming from the cold into a nice hot hotel and decided to join us for a few minutes. So whenever he comes on, we can give him a nice warm hello here from Florida.
And I really try to be discreet on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't really matter. But it is what it is. When it comes to what we were just talking about in terms of it being a perfect world, I think it would be better for consumers as a whole. I don't think the exclusivity thing really helps consumers, especially in cases in which you have a game that you really, really want, like The Division, and then they come and kind of just, give you a nice kick in the balls and say, hey man, that DLC that you've been wanting or that you've just already paid for, you're going to get it 30 days afterwards. Because here's the problem too, is not only are they selling you a DLC for half the price of a video game, they're pre-selling it to you, so you're buying it in good faith, and then weeks later they tell you that it's going to come a month after the other guy that purchased a Microsoft product.
Yeah.
So you're right, Christian. We should probably have everything crossplay. Hopefully somebody decides to create an oversight committee and say, guys, can we stop price gouging the DLC?
Yeah.
Can we stop the exclusivity? Can we just have a cross-platform, cross-play, art form, which video games are, and, just make it fun for everybody involved.
Isaac, is that you?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Hey, we got Isaac on the call, guys. So we were just talking about gaming and how it affects how some of what they're doing with DLC is affecting things like Tidal with exclusivity and you know, Kanye's album and in the music area. So I don't know. Do you have any questions for him?
Well, no. I mean, what?
Okay.
Go ahead.
In regards to the title thing with Kanye, I'm assuming y'all talked about the immensely high pirating rate now with the pirate jet.
Yeah, we mentioned that, and the fact that, you know, he wants people to pay for Tidal, but Tidal doesn't have a good enough encryption policy, so people were just pirating his stuff and then showing it off on Twitter that they got it pirated and put it on Apple Music or Google Play. You know, you
That's
don't.
why he's been dead.
Do y'all feel like it's a good thing that it was pirated like that?
Like I said before, if you mess with the internet's gonna, you know, come back at you. So don't try them. I think that's just another case of, you know, you try to influence and tell the internet what to do, and the internet's just gonna tell you to go, you know, kick rocks.
I think one of the good things I could bring, as bad as, you know, the whole pirating thing is, but it might, you know, make companies double think their release strategy. Instead of alienating a whole bunch of people, you know, they might look at something like this and say, well, it's not going to be worth it at the end, because not only are we going to get, you know, a bad rep, but we're not even going to get the sales we're going to usually do, because of, you know, people are going to just go pirate it. Yeah.
I mean, the same could be said about games too. The same thing. There's lots of pirating in the gaming world, even though some of the people that do pirate games have given up. That is something that is happening now, because they want to see how their pirating has been affecting game sales. So,
also, pirating in video games is much different, because developers have actually put, you know, things in place to show that you're a pirate. You know, there was a game recently that made that, you know, your costume was a pirate, and it was a pirate the whole game. There was one where you couldn't finish the game, or you would end up in a dungeon and couldn't get out. So those steps are being taken to prevent you from pirating video games. And video game piracy isn't that big of a thing in consoles anymore. It's more of an issue with PC gaming. But for console gaming, we're kind of just, you know, we just have to kind of deal with whatever the publishers want, really. I mean, if they want to sell a you know, downloadable content pack, and say Nintendo people get it 90 days before PlayStation and Xbox guys do, we're just gonna have to say, all right, well, I guess, you know, I pre-ordered this to get something 90 days later than Nintendo did. Sorry, you know what I mean? Like, and it is what it is. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, though. Like when you pre-order something like that, and it happens that way.
The thing is, us as consumers, we really hold literally all the power when it comes to basically filling, you know, the pockets of the CEOs up. So if us as consumers, you know, get together and say, well, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Vote for your wallet.
Stop.
Vote with your wallet.
It'll literally stop instantly.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that there should be more people like Christian around to stop buying DLC. It probably won't happen, but, you know, it is what it is. I think
I would like to say this, though. Computer gamers are vegans. There we go.
what is that supposed to mean?
And computer gamers are vegans, and they are they are people who like cross training too, because you can't talk gaming without somebody saying, well, you know, well, guess what? I PC game.
That's it.
Nobody cares. You're a gamer. Stop.
The wealthy lady that says, hello, darling.
But our current gen consoles can't hit 4K.
Oh my god.
That's why we have that attitude. Because we are ahead of the curve every single time.
Oh my God. Are you really?
Yes.
Are you ahead of the curve?
Technologically, yes. Technologically, we are.
Well, guess what? The general public says no, sir. They say PlayStation.
Because
4.
if you're a simpleton, of course you're going to think that way.
Simpletons who enjoy quality console gaming
In 1080p, 30
That's fine.
FPS.
That's fine. I mean, I can't get cable
I'm
television
sorry.
at 4K. Do you have a 4K
I can
television?
play those same games in 1440p
What
or
is your-
4K in above 60 FPS.
Do you have a 4K monitor to even handle the power that your
I could.
PC has?
The only reason why I don't have a 4K monitor is
Is
because
why?
I wanted G-Sync. That's why. And they didn't have a 4K monitor at the time with G-Sync.
Okay, so
The funny thing about games is they had, you have your PC master race, but then within your PC master race, you have your peasants who are going there with, no anti-aliasing. They're running the game at like 480 by 640, and then you have all the way up to like the 4K liquid cooled. I spent $5,000 on my rig joints, and I think that's pretty hilarious. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean but the thing is that that in reality though, the consoles last 8 years. That's it. And with a PC they can last longer because you can all you have to do is just upgrade the graphics card. That's it.
Well,
So you don't have to worry about buying new consoles and new controllers. So
I'll tell you what, man. Every podcast we learn something new. I think the viewers today learned PC gamers, they're like vegans. They're like the people who go to cross training. They gotta let you know every time you talk to them, guys. I know we're talking about our struggles as gamers, but me, I'm a PC gamer. I don't gotta deal with any of this. I've got Steam. I've got millions of games that I spent money on that I don't play because I make that much money because I'm a PC gamer.
And you never heard of the games I play.
Exactly. You've never heard. I know you guys have never heard of this great game because you guys aren't PC gamers. But those people in this niche that I belong to do. And let me tell you, that game is the game that everyone should emulate because that game is sold for $40 and doesn't even have a story, ladies and gentlemen. They're not Star Wars Battlefront.
exactly, they aren't.
They aren't, exactly. See, I'm making the case for you. Why? Because I hate you because I hate you. And with that,
What you tell them? Do you live, bro?
do you even PC game, bro?
Do you graphics card, bro?
Do you even 4K?
Do you
All right.
even 300 FPS?
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are done. That was episode 6 of the Bad News Tech podcast with this yahoo here who thinks he's better than everybody else because he PC games. Lewis, who's not so disembodied. My boy Isaac, who came and defrosted his nuts just to come and say hello. And me, Pedro.
From Canada.
From Canada, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, from Kennedy.
Just square wheels.
Bring back some maple syrup so we can put it on the podcast.
Oh my God.
There's no news like bad news.